I'm Jessica Mitchell, 34 years old, and standing outside my sister Rachel's perfect suburban home, gripping a wrapped gift while my stomach ties itself in knots. Family gatherings have always been an exercise in emotional endurance, but today feels different. Little does my judgmental family know that beyond my sad single life with cats lies a beautiful secret. A husband who adores me and a daughter who calls me mommy. The doorbell chimes, sealing my fate. If you've ever hidden parts of yourself from family, let me know where you're watching from. Like and subscribe if you've ever planned the perfect moment to prove everyone wrong. Rachel opened the door with her picture-perfect smile. Jessica, you're late. Everyone's already here. Her voice carried that familiar edge of disapproval that had been the soundtrack of my childhood. Traffic. Elite. When the truth was I'd sat in my car for 15 minutes, giving myself a pep talk to face them all. My relationship with my family, particularly with Rachel, had always been complicated. Growing up in our middle-class home in Vermont, Rachel was the golden child, head cheerleader, straightest student, and eventually the perfect wife and mother. I was the dreamer, the artist, the one who preferred books to parties and paints to prom dresses. Our parents, Barbara and Thomas Mitchell, never quite knew what to do with me. Mom was a former beauty queen who'd given up a budding modeling career to marry Dad, a successful insurance executive. They understood Rachel's world of social climbing and country club memberships. My world of art galleries and creative expression might as well have been from another planet. Your sister knows how to fit in, Mom would say, adjusting my clothes or hair before family photos. Why can't you try a little harder to be like her? By 18 I'd had enough. While Rachel married her high school sweetheart Bradley right after graduation, I packed my bags for art school in New York. My parents paid my tuition reluctantly, making it clear they considered it an indulgence rather than an investment. Art doesn't pay bills. Dad would remind me during our brief phone calls. Rachel's husband just got promoted at the bank. I threw myself into my studies, finding a community that appreciated my passion for mixed media collage art. My first gallery showing featured pieces exploring family dynamics and the weight of expectations. The critics loved it. My family didn't attend. Rachel's life progressed exactly as expected. A 4-bedroom house in our hometown, 2 perfect children, and a position as the elementary school PTA president. My life took a different path through artist residencies, a small but growing reputation in the New York art scene, and eventually meeting Maxwell Harris at a gallery opening where my work was being featured. Maxwell was different from anyone I'd ever met. A children's book illustrator with kind eyes and a quiet confidence, he saw me completely and loved what he saw. Our courtship was swift and private, a bubble of happiness I instinctively protected from my family's judgment. When we married in a tiny ceremony with just our closest friends, I didn't invite my family. I told myself it was because they wouldn't approve, but the deeper truth was that I couldn't bear to have their criticism taint something so pure. Then came our struggle to have children. After 2 years of fertility treatments and heartbreak, we decided to adopt. The day we brought home little Lily, a beautiful 18-month-old with curious eyes and a tentative smile, was the happiest of my life. She's perfect, Maxwell had whispered as we watched her sleep that first night. I had made the conscious decision to keep Maxwell and Lily separate from my birth family. Years of subtle put-downs had trained me to expect the worst. Rachel would surely find something wrong with my marriage, my adoption choice, my parenting. My parents would compare Lily to Rachel's real children. So I maintained the fiction of being single during my increasingly rare visits home. I'd mention art shows and travels, carefully editing out Maxwell and Lily. When pressed about my personal life, I deflect with questions about my niece and nephew. Rachel, meanwhile, never missed an opportunity to highlight my apparent failings. Still living in that tiny apartment? She'd ask at Thanksgiving. Any men in your life yet? She'd probe at Christmas. Your biological clock isn't just ticking, it's practically a time bomb, she'd joke at Easter. Each comment reinforced my decision to keep my family separate, to protect the beautiful life Maxwell and I had built with Lily from their toxic judgments. But as Lily grew and became more aware, I knew this deception couldn't last forever. Eventually, worlds would collide. I just hadn't expected it to happen today, at my niece Sophia's 7th birthday party. The interior of Rachel's house looked like a professional party planner had vomited pink princess decorations everywhere. Streamers cascaded from the ceiling, balloons formed archways between rooms, and a massive Happy 7th Birthday Princess Sophia banner dominated the living room wall. Everything was picture perfect, just like Rachel herself. Aunt Jessica. Sophia bounded over in a glittery pink dress that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. You came? Of course I did, birthday girl. I handed her the carefully wrapped package containing a handmade storybook Maxwell and I had created together. I wouldn't miss it. Is that from the discount store? Rachel appeared beside us, eyeing the gift with barely concealed disdain. She was dressed in white jeans and a pale blue cashmere sweater, without a single wrinkle or stain. A miracle for a mother hosting a children's party. It's handmade actually, I replied, forcing a smile. How creative. Her tone suggested this wasn't a compliment. Well, come in. Mom and Dad are already here with Aunt Linda and Uncle Steve. I steeled myself as Rachel led me through her immaculate home to the backyard, where tables had been set up around a bounce house and a petting zoo. Yes, my sister had actually rented farm animals for a birthday party. Jessica. My mother kissed both my cheeks. You look healthy. Have you done something different with your hair? Translation: you've gained weight. And your haircut is unflattering. Just been busy with work, Mom. The gallery's been doing really well. Still with all that art stuff? My father appeared with a beer in hand. Rachel tells me her friend's brother works for an insurance company that's hiring administrative assistants. Good benefits, stable income. My career is actually quite stable now, Dad, I said, accepting the glass of wine Rachel thrust into my hand. But thanks. Jessica. Aunt Linda bustled over, her eyes scanning me from head to toe. No +1 again? When are you going to settle down like your sister? You're not getting any younger, you know. I took a large gulp of wine. Great to see you too, Aunt Linda. For the next hour, I circulated through the crowd of family members and Rachel's friends, fielding variations of the same questions. Still single? Still in that tiny apartment? Still doing that art thing? Each time I gave vague, pleasant responses while checking my phone, where Maxwell was sending me supportive messages and pictures of Lily playing at home. She misses her mama. He texted alongside a photo of Lily hugging the stuffed elephant I'd given her. Miss her more. How's nap time going? I texted back, smiling at my phone. What's got you so happy? Did you finally download a dating app? Rachel appeared at my elbow, peering at my screen. Quickly locked it. Just checking work emails. Elite. She raised a perfectly shaped eyebrow. On a Saturday? At your niece's birthday? Jessica, this is why you're still alone. All work and no play. I'm not all work. I protested weakly. Right, there are also your cats. She smirked. Anyway, we're doing cake soon. Try to look like you're enjoying yourself. Mom's been asking if you're depressed again. Rachel sashayed away to organize the cake ceremony, leaving me seething. The depressed again comment referred to a difficult period after college, when I'd struggled to launch my career. Rachel had told everyone I was mentally unstable, rather than acknowledging I was working 3 jobs to pay rent while building my portfolio. I ducked into the house, finding a quiet corner in the kitchen to call Maxwell. How's it going, he asked, concern evident in his voice. About as expected. Rachel's in rare form today. Want us to come rescue you earlier than planned? Lily's nap time isn't going well anyway. I considered it. The original plan was for me to endure 2 hours alone. Then Maxwell would arrive with Lily, as if just dropping by to pick me up. We'd reveal our family situation organically, without making a scene. No, let's stick to the plan. I can handle another hour of passive-aggressive comments. You're stronger than all of them, Jess. Lily and I are so proud of you. His words warmed me, giving me the strength to rejoin the party. As I stepped back into the yard, Rachel clinked a spoon against her glass. Everyone gather around for cake. Sophia's making her birthday wish. The crowd converged on the central table, where an elaborate 3-tiered castle cake stood waiting. I took a position near the back, sipping my wine and mentally rehearsing my exit strategy. Just 1 more hour. Then Maxwell and Lily would arrive, and I'd finally be free of this charade. Little did I know, Rachel had a public humiliation plan that would accelerate my timeline dramatically. The cake ceremony began with all the pomp and circumstance Rachel could muster. Sophia sat in a decorated chair that resembled a throne, A plastic tiara perched on her blonde curls. Rachel stood beside her, playing the role of the devoted mother to perfection. Before we sing to the birthday girl, Rachel announced, glass of champagne in hand, I want to thank everyone for coming to celebrate my amazing daughter. The crowd murmured appreciatively as Rachel launched into what sounded like a rehearsed speech about the joys of motherhood and family. I shifted uncomfortably, checking the time on my phone. Maxwell and Lily would be arriving in about 45 minutes, according to our plan. Family is everything, Rachel continued, her gaze sweeping the crowd until it landed on me. Which is why I'm so grateful that even my sister Jessica took time from her busy, artistic life to join us today. A knot formed in my stomach. I recognized that tone. It was the same one she'd used before pushing me into the pool at her sweet 16, before announcing to everyone at Thanksgiving that I'd been rejected from my first-choice college, before telling my high school crush I still slept with a nightlight. Jessica has always marched to her own drummer, Rachel said with a tight smile. While I was focused on building a family, she's been focused on, what is it again, Jess? Collages? Mixed media installations? I corrected quietly, my cheeks burning as all eyes turned to me. Right. Very important work. Rachel's voice dripped with sarcasm. But family gatherings like this really highlight life's different paths, don't they? Here's Sophia surrounded by loved ones, opening presents from her parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and then there's Jessica. I took a step backward, wishing I could disappear into the carefully manicured hedges behind me. Still in that tiny New York apartment, Rachel continued. Still single at 34. Still playing house with your cats while the rest of us build real families. The yard erupted in laughter. Not everyone laughed, to be fair. Mom looked uncomfortable and Dad studied his beer with sudden interest. But Rachel's friends, our extended family, even the hired princess performer, all chuckled at my expense. To Sophia, Rachel concluded, raising her glass. May you grow up knowing what really matters in life. More applause. More laughter. More pitying glances thrown my way. I stood frozen, a lifetime of similar humiliations flashing through my mind. Rachel announcing at my 13th birthday that I'd gotten my period for the first time. Rachel telling my prom date about my childhood bedwetting. Rachel showing my college boyfriend my awkward middle school photos. But this time felt different. This time she wasn't just mocking me. She was unwittingly mocking my family, my choices, my beautiful life with Maxwell and Lily. A life that made me happier than Rachel, with all her perfect trappings, could possibly understand. My hand trembled as I pulled out my phone and texted Maxwell. Come now. Bring Lily. His response was immediate. On our way. Everything okay? I didn't reply. I couldn't explain the storm of emotions raging inside me. Humiliation, yes, but also anger. Anger that had been building for decades. Anger at always being the family punchline. Anger at having felt the need to hide my happiness out of fear it would be belittled or dismissed. As everyone sang happy birthday to Sophia, I retreated further from the crowd, positioning myself near the gate that connected the backyard to the front of the house. In 15 minutes, Maxwell would arrive with Lily. In 15 minutes, everything would change. The weight of my secrets suddenly felt unbearable. Why had I hidden my marriage? Why had I hidden my daughter? What was I teaching Lily by pretending she didn't exist when I was with my birth family? I watched Rachel help Sophia blow out her candles, the picture of maternal devotion. My sister had many admirable qualities. She was organized, dedicated to her children, capable of creating beautiful moments like this birthday party. But she was also cruel, competitive, and constantly seeking validation through others' perceived failures. Make a wish, sweetheart, she encouraged Sophia. Cameras flashing all around them. I closed my eyes briefly and made my own wish, for the strength to finally stand in my truth, regardless of Rachel's reaction. The universe must have been listening because at that moment, the sound of the doorbell echoed from inside the house. Time seemed to slow as I heard Rachel's husband Bradley call out, "I'll get it," from inside the house. My heart pounded in my chest as I realized this was it. The moment of truth had arrived 15 minutes earlier than planned. While Rachel directed the cutting and distribution of cake slices, I remained by the gate, memories washing over me in waves. All the times I'd stood up for myself in other areas of my life came to mind. The gallery owner who tried to pay me less than male artists, the critic who suggested my work was decorative rather than meaningful, the client who wanted me to work for exposure instead of money. In my professional life, I was confident and assertive. Why had I allowed my family, especially Rachel, to make me feel small for so long? Thought back to the night I met Maxwell 4 years ago at the Thornfield Gallery in Chelsea. My installation exploring women's invisible domestic labor had just opened to positive reviews. Maxwell had stood before a piece featuring hundreds of tiny paper houses folded from grocery lists and bills, studying it intently. The repetition creates this sense of endless labor, he'd said when he noticed me watching him. But there's beauty in it too, like you're finding art in the mundane. We talked until the gallery closed, then continued our conversation at a nearby coffee shop until dawn. By our third date, I knew he was different from anyone I'd ever met. He listened. He saw me. He celebrated my art rather than diminishing it. When he proposed 6 months later, I didn't hesitate. We married at City Hall with only his parents and our closest friends in attendance. I told myself my family wouldn't approve, wouldn't understand, wouldn't be happy for me. Looking back, I can see I was protecting myself from their judgment, but I was also protecting my joy from their taint. Then came our struggle to conceive. Month after month of disappointment, followed by expensive fertility treatments that drained our savings and my spirit. Maxwell held me through nights of crying, assuring me that parenthood came in many forms. A family is about love, not biology, he'd said one night as we discussed adoption. There's a child out there who needs exactly what we have to give. The adoption process was grueling in its own way. Mountains of paperwork, home studies, waiting lists, false starts. But the day we met Lily, all that melted away. She was 18 months old, with dark curly hair and solemn eyes that studied us carefully. Her birth mother, a young art student unable to care for a child, had chosen us specifically because of my career. I want her to know women can be artists, she'd written in her letter. I want her to have creative, loving parents. The first weeks with Lily were a beautiful chaos of sleepless nights, tentative smiles, and gradual trust building. The moment she first called me Mama, I felt complete in a way I'd never imagined possible. My family, the one I'd chosen and built with intention and love, filled spaces inside me I hadn't known were empty. All this had happened alongside my career's steady growth. My work was now featured in respected galleries, and I'd begun teaching workshops at community centers. Maxwell's children's book illustrations were gaining recognition, and we'd recently collaborated on a book inspired by Lily's adoption story. Yet to my birth family, I was still just Jessica, the disappointing daughter. Jessica, the childless cat lady. Jessica, the cautionary tale. The sound of voices in the hallway snapped me back to the present. I recognized Maxwell's deep, gentle tone responding to Bradley's confused greeting. "Yes, I'm here for Jessica," Maxwell was saying. "I brought someone with me." I moved toward the back door just as it opened, revealing Maxwell's tall frame. In his arms was Lily, still sleepy from her interrupted nap, her curly hair mussed, and her favorite purple stuffed elephant clutched to her chest. The backyard fell silent. All eyes turned from the cake ceremony to the unexpected arrivals. Rachel stood frozen, cake server in hand, mouth slightly open. "Jess," Maxwell called, spotting me. "Sorry we're early. Someone didn't want to finish her nap today." Lily, hearing my name, perked up and looked around until she spotted me. Her entire face lit up, and she squirmed to be put down. "Go to Mama," Maxwell said, setting her gently on her feet. And then my daughter was running toward me, arms outstretched, face radiant with joy. "Mommy," she shouted, launching herself into my waiting arms. As I held my daughter close, breathing in her sweet baby shampoo scent, I finally felt the weight of my secrets lift. The truth was out, and in that moment I couldn't remember why I'd been hiding it for so long. I lifted Lily into my arms, kissing her forehead as she snuggled against me. The backyard remained eerily quiet, everyone frozen in tableaus of surprise. Rachel stood by the cake, server still suspended Madeira, her mouth forming a perfect O of shock. My parents sat at the main table, identical expressions of confusion on their faces. Aunt Linda had actually dropped her plastic fork onto her designer dress, leaving a smear of pink frosting unnoticed. Maxwell approached us, placing a supportive hand on my lower back. "Sorry to crash the party," he said cheerfully, seemingly oblivious to the stunned silence. This little one refused to sleep any longer, and she was asking for her mama. Lily, suddenly aware of all the strangers staring at her, tucked her face against my neck shyly. Too many people, Mommy, she whispered. It's okay, sweetheart, I assured her. These are your relatives. Rachel was the first to recover, setting down the cake server with a sharp clack against the table. Jessica, she said, her voice unnaturally high. What's going on? Who are these people? I took a deep breath, drawing strength from the weight of my daughter in my arms and the solid presence of my husband beside me. Everyone, this is my husband, Maxwell Harris. And this, I kiss Lily's curls, is our daughter Lily. She's 3. The yard erupted in a cacophony of exclamations and questions. Husband, daughter, 3 years old, when did this happen? Why didn't you tell us? My mother stood shakily, one hand clutching my father's shoulder for support. Jessica Catherine Mitchell, she said, using my full name as she always did when upset. Are you telling me I have a granddaughter I've never met? That you've been married without telling your own family? Before I could answer, Rachel stalked toward us, her face flushed with anger and embarrassment. This is some kind of joke, right? You borrowed someone's kit to make some kind of point? Because after all these years of coming to family events alone, complaining about being single, suddenly having a secret family is a bit far-fetched, don't you think? Maxwell stepped slightly forward, his expression polite but firm. I can assure you we're very real. Jessica and I have been married for 3 years. We adopted Lily when she was 18 months old. Adopted? My father's voice carried across the yard, loaded with implication. Yes, adopted. I replied, my voice stronger than I expected. After fertility treatments didn't work for us. Sophia, bless her heart, broke through the tension by tugging on Rachel's sleeve. Mommy, does this mean I have a cousin? Can she play with me? Rachel ignored her, still staring at me. I don't understand. Why would you hide this from us? Are you ashamed of them? Ashamed of us? I laughed, the sound surprising even me. Ashamed of them? They're the best things that ever happened to me. I kept them separate from this family because I was protecting them. Protecting them from what? Mom asked, moving closer. Her eyes fixed on Lily with a hungry expression that made me instinctively tighten my hold. From exactly what happened today, I said quietly. From the judgment. The comparisons. The constant message that my choices are wrong or less than. An uncomfortable silence fell over the gathering. Several guests, friends of Rachel's I barely knew, began discreetly moving toward the house, sensing this was becoming a private family matter. Bradley, always the peacemaker, stepped forward. Why don't we move this inside? Sophia can open her presents with her friends while the adults talk. Rachel whirled on him. Are you serious right now? My sister shows up with a secret family in the middle of our daughter's birthday party. And you want to just calmly discuss it? It's not about you, Rachel, I said, finding my voice. Not everything is. She turned back to me, eyes flashing. You chose our family event to stage this dramatic revelation. That makes it about me, about all of us you've been lying to. I didn't plan this. I started, but the truth caught in my throat. I had planned it, just not quite like this. I was going to introduce them today. Yes, but your little speech about me playing house with cats while real families celebrate together forced my hand. My mother approached cautiously, her eyes never leaving Lily. She's beautiful, she whispered. She looks like you did at that age. Same curls. Lily peeked out from my shoulder, studying my mother curiously. Are you my grandma? She asked in her clear little voice. Mom's eyes filled with tears. I am, sweetheart. I'm your grandma Barbara, and I'm very, very happy to meet you. Dad joined her. His expression a mix of hurt and wonder. Why, Jessie? Why didn't you tell us? I looked at my parents, really looked at them, perhaps for the first time in years. They were older now, their hair grayer, their faces more lined. Behind the hurt in their eyes, I could see genuine confusion. In their minds, they had always loved me, always supported me, even when they didn't understand my choices. Because I needed to build my family without judgment, I said finally. Because every time I'm here, I leave feeling like I'm not enough, like my choices are disappointing. I couldn't bear to have you make Maxwell and Lily feel that way too. That's not fair, Mom protested weakly. Isn't it? I challenged. Dad, when was the last time you asked about my art without suggesting a more practical career? Mom, when have you ever introduced me to your friends without mentioning how successful Rachel is in the same breath? When have any of you shown genuine interest in my life without comparing it to some standard I never agreed to? The yard had emptied now, just our immediate family remaining. Rachel stood apart, arms crossed, watching the scene unfold with a mixture of anger and something else, something that might have been hurt or even envy. Maxwell gently touched my arm. Jess, maybe we should continue this another time. It's a lot for everyone to process. But I shook my head. After years of silence, the truth was pouring out of me like a dam had broken. No, they wanted to know my life. Well, here it is. I'm a successful artist with work in 3 major galleries. I'm married to an incredibly talented children's book illustrator who supports my career and shares equally in raising our daughter. We live in a beautiful brownstone in Brooklyn that we bought last year. I'm happy, truly happy. But I've been hiding that happiness because I was afraid you'd find a way to diminish it. Lily began to squirm in my arms, bored with the adult conversation. Maxwell took her, murmuring something about finding her a snack. As they moved toward the food table, I noticed Rachel watching them, her expression unreadable. You could have given us a chance, Dad said quietly. We might have surprised you. I felt a sudden surge of regret, not for revealing my family, but for having kept them hidden so long. You're right, I admitted. Maybe I should have. But after a lifetime of feeling judged, it was easier to keep my world separate. And yet you chose today, my daughter's birthday, to bring them together. Rachel interjected, her voice bitter. Always finding a way to make things about you, Jessica. And just like that, the familiar pattern reasserted itself. Rachel casting me as the selfish one, the dramatic one, the one disrupting her perfect life. But this time I didn't retreat. This time I stood my ground. This was never about upstaging you, Rachel, I said calmly. This was about finally being honest about who I am and the family I love. As Maxwell returned with Lily happily munching on a cookie, I realized we had reached a turning point. The secret was out. My worlds had collided, and now we would all have to figure out what came next. The adults relocated to Rachel's formal living room, while the remaining children continued playing in the backyard under the supervision of the hired princess performer. Lily, after initial shyness, had been thrilled to meet her cousin Sophia, and was now included in the backyard activities, giving the adults space to talk. We sat in awkward silence, the beautiful room with its matching furniture and strategic family photos feeling suddenly like a stage set. Rachel perched on the edge of her white leather sofa, legs crossed tightly, while Bradley stood behind her. My parents took the love seat, looking shell-shocked. Maxwell and I sat opposite them, his hand resting supportively on my knee. So Rachel finally broke the silence. 3 years of marriage, a child, a house, all of this happening while you continued to come to family events alone, accepting our sympathy for your single status, letting us believe you were struggling. That's quite a deception, Jessica. Rachel, Bradley cautioned, but she waved him off. No, I want to hear her explain. Because from where I'm sitting, my sister has been lying to our faces for years, making us feel sorry for her when all along she was living this secret life she apparently thought we weren't good enough to know about. I felt Maxwell tense beside me but squeezed his hand, signaling I would handle this. It wasn't about thinking you weren't good enough, I said carefully. It was about protecting something precious to me. Protecting it from what? Your family who loves you. My mother's voice wavered between hurt and indignation. I took a deep breath. From the constant comparison, from the subtle put-downs, from having every choice I make questioned or belittled. That's ridiculous, Rachel scoffed. We've always supported you, have you? I met her gaze directly. When I chose art school, Dad called it a waste of money. When I moved to New York, Mom said I was running away from responsibility. When my first gallery show got positive reviews, you asked if I was making enough to pay rent. Support looks different than that, Rachel. So, we occasionally expressed concern about your choices, Dad interjected. That's what parents do. We worried about you. You didn't worry about Rachel when she followed your approved life script, I pointed out. There's a difference between concern and control. Rachel stood abruptly. This is absurd. You're painting us as villains because we dared to care about your well-being. Meanwhile, you've been lying to us about fundamental aspects of your life for years. Maxwell cleared his throat. If I may, he said in his calm, thoughtful voice. I've heard a lot about your family, Jessica's family, over the years. From Jessica's perspective, there's been a pattern of her choices being questioned in ways that made her feel judged rather than supported. "And who are you exactly?" Rachel demanded. "Besides the man who helped our daughter hide from her family, I'm her husband," Maxwell replied simply. "Someone who loves and respects her exactly as she is. Someone who has seen how she calls herself a failure after phone calls home, even when she's just had work acquired by a major collector. Someone who suggested many times that we should tell you about our marriage and Lily, but who respected her fears enough not to push." An uncomfortable silence followed his words. My mother dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. "We had no idea you felt this way, Jessica," she said finally. "We thought we were being supportive in our own way. By constantly comparing me to Rachel, by suggesting my career wasn't real, by treating my life choices as temporary phases I would eventually outgrow." The words poured out, years of bottled feelings finding release. "Do you know what Rachel said to me today in front of everyone? That I was still playing house with my cats while real families built meaningful lives. How is that supportive?" Rachel had the grace to look embarrassed, but she quickly rallied. "It was a joke, Jessica. You're so sensitive." "It wasn't funny," I said quietly. "It was cruel, just like it was cruel when you told everyone at Thanksgiving about my fertility treatments failing." My parents looked shocked. "You knew about the fertility treatments?" Dad asked Rachel. Rachel flushed. "Jessica mentioned it once. I didn't think it was some big secret. I told you in confidence." I said, the old hurt resurfacing. "After my third miscarriage, when I called you crying, and 2 weeks later, you announced it at dinner like it was family gossip." Maxwell's hand tightened on mine, offering silent support. He knew how devastating that betrayal had been, how it had cemented my decision to keep our adoption journey private. "I didn't mean to hurt you," Rachel said, a rare note of genuine remorse in her voice. I thought sharing it might help somehow. How would publicly announcing my reproductive failures help?" Rachel had no answer for that. "The point is," I continued, gathering my thoughts, "there's been a pattern of my privacy being violated, my choices being questioned, and my life being treated as less valid than yours. So yes, when Maxwell and I fell in love, when we got married, when we adopted Lily, I kept it to myself. Because those moments were sacred to me, and I couldn't bear to have them tarnished." My mother was openly crying now. "I had no idea you felt so alienated from us. We love you, Jessica. We always have. I know you love me," I acknowledged. "But you've never really seen me. Not the real me. You've seen the ways I don't fit your expectations, not the person I actually am." Bradley, who had been quiet throughout this exchange, finally spoke. "Maybe this is an opportunity for all of you to start fresh, to build a relationship based on who you actually are now, not who you were or who anyone expected you to be." Rachel shot him a look, but he continued. "Rachel, you have to admit you've been hard on Jessica over the years. And Jessica, keeping your family secret has clearly hurt your parents deeply. There's blame enough for everyone, but there's also the chance to do better moving forward." His reasonable tone seemed to defuse some of the tension in the room. Rachel sat back down, smoothing her pants with a deliberate motion that suggested she was collecting herself. "I still don't understand why you couldn't trust us with this," she said, but her voice had lost its edge. "Don't you think Mom and Dad deserved to know they had another grandchild?" "Yes," I admitted. "Looking at it now, I can see that keeping Lily from them was unfair. But at the time, it felt like the only way to protect the family Maxwell and I were building." "From us," Dad said heavily. "You were protecting your family from us." The raw hurt in his voice pierced through my defensive armor. For the first time, I truly saw the situation from their perspective. Their daughter had excluded them from major life events, had denied them a relationship with their grandchild, had essentially created a parallel life they knew nothing about. "I'm sorry," I said, surprising myself with the sincerity of the words. "Not for the choices I made, but for not giving you the chance to accept them, for assuming the worst instead of hoping for the best." My mother rose and crossed to sit beside me, taking my free hand in hers. "And we're sorry too, for making you feel you couldn't share your joy with us. I hope it's not too late to get to know your beautiful family." From the backyard came the sound of children's laughter, including Lily's distinctive giggle. Maxwell smiled at the sound. "It's not too late," he assured my mother. "Lily is an amazing little girl. She'll be thrilled to have more family who love her." Rachel remained quiet, her expression thoughtful. I knew her well enough to recognize she was processing, recalibrating, adjusting to this new reality where I wasn't the struggling single sister she could feel superior to. Rachel, I said softly, I need to know we can move forward without the competition, without the put-downs. Can we try to be sisters who support each other, who celebrate each other's different paths? She met my gaze, and for a moment I glimpsed vulnerability beneath her perfect facade. I never thought we were competing, she said finally. I always thought you were the special one, the talented one, the one with options. I followed the expected path because I didn't know what else to do. Her admission stunned me into silence. All these years, I'd believed she looked down on my choices when perhaps she'd envied my courage to make them. We've both been seeing each other through distorted lenses, I realized aloud. Maybe it's time we actually got to know each other as the adults we've become. Rachel nodded slowly. I'd like that, she said, and for once there was no sarcasm, no hidden barb in her words. As if on cue, the back door burst open and Sophia ran in, pulling Lily by the hand. Mom, Aunt Jessica, can Lily sleep over tonight? Please. She's my cousin and we're best friends now. The adult tension in the room dissolved at their excitement. Lily bounced on her toes, looking from Maxwell to me with pleading eyes. Please, Mommy. Please, Daddy. Sophia has the prettiest room, and she said I can sleep in the princess bed. I looked at Maxwell, who gave a small nod. Then I turned to Rachel, a question in my eyes. Of course she can stay, Rachel said, a genuine smile softening her features. If it's okay with her parents. It was a small olive branch but a meaningful one, the first step toward a new kind of relationship. Thank you, I said, meaning it for more than just the sleepover offer. As the girls ran back outside celebrating their victory, I felt something shift inside me. The walls I'd built between my two worlds were crumbling, and though the rubble was messy, what might be built in their place could be stronger, more authentic, and ultimately more beautiful than what had stood before. 6 months after Sophia's explosive birthday party, Maxwell, Lily, and I stood on the porch of our Brooklyn brownstone, watching my parents' car pull up to the curb. It was Thanksgiving and for the first time, we were hosting the entire Mitchell family in our home. You okay? Maxwell asked, his arm around my waist. Surprisingly, yes, I replied, bouncing a now 4-year-old Lily on my hip. Who would have thought? The transformation in our family dynamics over the past half year had been remarkable. Not instant, not perfect, but steady and genuine. After the initial shock and confrontation at the birthday party, we'd agreed to start fresh with regular visits and honest communication. My parents had come to New York the very next weekend, eager to make up for lost time with their granddaughter. Mom had brought photo albums of my childhood, pointing out to Lily how similar we looked at the same age. Dad had been quieter, but I'd caught him wiping away tears as he watched Lily paint alongside me in my home studio. She has your talent, he'd said, the first unqualified compliment about my artistic abilities I could remember hearing from him. Maxwell opened our front door as my parents approached, Lily squirming to get down and run to them. Grandma! Grandpa, she shouted, launching herself at their legs. I made you pictures. And Daddy. And I baked a pie. And Mommy said I can show you my big girl room. Mom scooped her up, covering her face with kisses. There's my sweet girl. We brought you presents from Vermont. Dad hugged me tightly, something that had become easier and more natural with each visit. The house looks beautiful, Jessie. That new series you were working on, did the gallery take it? They did. I confirmed, warmth spreading through me at his genuine interest. Opening night is in January. You and Mom will come. Wouldn't miss it, he promised, and I believed him. Rachel and her family arrived next, Sophia racing up the steps to find Lily, while Bradley followed with their son Noah. Rachel carried a dish that she handed to Maxwell. Sweet potato casserole, she explained. Family recipe, but I cut the sugar in half. I know you're trying to watch Lily's sugar intake. This small consideration, remembering and respecting our parenting choices, symbolized how far we'd come. Early visits had been marked by Rachel's unsolicited parenting advice and barely veiled criticism of our choices. Now, she made an effort to support rather than question our decisions. Our relationship remained the most complex to navigate. Years of competition and hurt couldn't be erased overnight. But we were both trying, finding common ground in motherhood and rediscovering the sister bond that had been overshadowed by rivalry. Thanks, Rachel, I said sincerely. Come in, everyone's in the living room. Maxwell's parents are already here. The house filled with a chaotic energy of family, children running and laughing, multiple conversations happening simultaneously, the rich aroma of roasting turkey and baking pies. I moved through it all with a sense of wonder, this blending of my once separate worlds now feeling natural and right. In a quiet moment before dinner, I found myself alone in the kitchen with Rachel as we put final touches on the side dishes. Your house is amazing, she said, arranging dinner rolls in a basket. I can't believe you renovated it yourselves. Maxwell did most of the heavy lifting, I admitted. But I handled the design elements. It was a labor of love. Rachel was quiet for a moment, focusing intently on the rolls. I owe you an apology, she said finally. A real one, not the rushed one from Sophia's party. I paused in my gravy stirring, giving her my full attention. I've been thinking a lot about why I treated you the way I did all these years, she continued. The jokes at your expense, the backhanded compliments, the constant comparisons. I think I was jealous. Jealous? Of me? The concept seemed so foreign that I nearly laughed. You had the courage to choose your own path, Rachel explained. To pursue what you loved, even when it was hard. I took the safe route, did what was expected. Don't get me wrong, I love my family, my life. But sometimes I wonder what might have been if I'd been braver like you. Her candor stunned me. I always thought you looked down on my choices, I admitted. That you saw my life as less than yours because it didn't follow the traditional script. Sometimes I probably did, she acknowledged. It was easier than admitting I envied your freedom. But seeing your home, your family, your success on your own terms. I get it now. Different doesn't mean less than. Just means different. I impulsively hugged her, careful not to spill the gravy. Thank you for saying that. Means more than you know. She hugged me back, then quickly wiped her eyes. Enough sentimentality. Mom will think we're fighting if we both come out with red eyes. We laughed. The moment of vulnerability passing but leaving something stronger in its wake. Dinner itself was a beautiful chaos of past dishes, overlapping conversations, and Lily proudly sitting between her grandparents, soaking up their undivided attention. Looking around the table at these people who had known me my whole life alongside those who had helped me become who I truly was, I felt a profound sense of wholeness. After the meal, as everyone settled into food comas in the living room, I slipped upstairs to Lily's room for a moment of quiet. I found Maxwell already there, straightening up the stuffed animals Lily and Sophia had abandoned in their play. Hiding out, he asked with a knowing smile. Just catching my breath, I said, leaning against him as he wrapped his arms around me. It's a lot having everyone here. Good, but a lot. He kissed the top of my head. Your mom asked if we'd consider coming to Vermont for Christmas. What do you think? 6 months ago, the idea would have filled me with dread. Now I considered it thoughtfully. I think Lily would love to see where I grew up, I said, and it might be nice to show them my old haunts, but as the person I am now, not who they thought I should be. That's my brave girl, Maxwell murmured. From downstairs came the sound of Lily's laughter mingled with my father's deeper chuckle. The sound filled me with unexpected joy. The journey from secrets and judgment to honesty and acceptance hadn't been easy. There had been difficult conversations, old hurts brought to light, boundaries established and respected. But standing there in my daughter's room, in the home I shared with my husband, with the sounds of our extended family floating up from below, I knew it had been worth it. I had feared that revealing my true self to my family would somehow diminish the life I'd built. Instead, it had expanded it, creating space for growth and healing I hadn't thought possible. We should get back down there, I said, taking Maxwell's hand, before Lily convinces my parents to buy her a pony. As we rejoined the gathering, I watched my daughter move confidently between her grandparents, aunt, uncle, and cousins, secure in being loved, unaware of the complicated history that had kept these worlds separate for so long. In her innocent navigation between these once divided parts of my life, I saw the lesson I needed to learn. That authenticity, however messy or uncomfortable initially, was ultimately the path to true connection. That standing in my truth hadn't destroyed relationships as I'd feared, but had created the possibility for deeper, more genuine ones. The secret family I'd hidden out of fear was now simply my family, integrated into the larger tapestry of relatives and relationships that formed my complete story. Jessica, my mother called, patting the seat beside her. Come tell us about this gallery opening. Your father says it's a big deal. As I settled beside her, launching into an explanation of my newest work, I felt the final pieces of my compartmentalized life clicking into place. The journey wasn't over, the healing still ongoing, but the walls were down, and in their place was something I'd never expected to find with my birth family: acceptance. Have you ever had to reveal a truth about yourself that you kept hidden from family? What gave you the courage to finally be authentic? Share your story in the comments below. If this resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more stories about family healing and personal growth. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember, sometimes the very thing we fear revealing becomes the key to our freedom.